Hi friends and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hello. My name's George Agambar and I'm a UK music producer. In today's video we're going to be having a look at vocals, specifically vocals that have been recorded through a phone and how we can mix these. So if you want to learn a bit more about this, then make sure you stay tuned and hit the subscribe button and notification bell for new videos every Wednesday.
And things will never be the same when I hear your name since you kissed me in the rain.
As producers and engineers, we've all been sent that one vocal that's been recorded through a phone microphone. And that's probably because our clients either don't own a recording microphone or don't have access to one. And they still want us to put together a decent demo for them. And that's completely possible. And I think that this has been happening more and more lately due to various lockdowns across the world. So in this video, we're going to have a look at how phone recordings might sound different from a condenser microphone recording, and how we can edit a phone recording to make it sound more like the condenser microphone recording. So for this video, I've recorded one vocal track through my Rode NT1 large diaphragm condenser microphone, and the same vocal track through my iPhone 11 microphone. So let's have a look at the two different vocal tracks.
You let me down, I'm spinning all around and up on the ground. You let me down, I'm spinning all around and up on the ground.
Now I think we can all agree that these sound really different. So let's start to have a look at why these are different and how we can fix this. The first thing I would do to this vocal track is address the background noise. Now I was pleasantly surprised that there wasn't too much room noise with the iPhone microphone. At the time of recording the vocal track, there was someone walking past my door. And normally when I use my Rode NT1, it would pick up those footsteps. However, on the iPhone recording, you couldn't hear it at all. But the noise floor on the iPhone was significantly higher than the microphone, and so this is something we need to address. Here's a quick comparison of the noise from the iPhone compared to the noise from the microphone. To solve this problem with the iPhone's noise, I'd use a noise gate, and these are designed to remove low-level noise from your audio tracks. So here's the noise gate plugin. I've set the parameters already. Now the threshold that you need will depend and vary on the track. I think it's important to note that I've got a really fast attack time on the plugin, as I didn't want to cut off the beginning of words and lose the attack of the vocal. Here's the before and after.
You let me down, I'm spinning all around and up on the ground. You let me down, I'm spinning all around and up on the ground.
And you can hear what a difference that has made to the track when there's no singing. And this will make our mixes sound a lot clearer. So the biggest problem I heard with the iPhone recording was its frequency response. To me, the vocals sounded very tinny and thin. I didn't get that clear, transparent, shiny, sparkly sound that the Rode NT1 gave me. Now, I could have sat down and played around with EQ on the iPhone vocal track for hours and hours until I found something that worked. But I thought it would be very interesting to compare the frequency response of the iPhone microphone versus the Rode NT1. So I played a frequency sweep through my Kali LP6 monitors and recorded them through each microphone. So let's have a look at the two frequency graphs. These two graphs are actually surprisingly similar. It's crazy how just a small change in frequencies has made the two vocal tracks sound so different. You can see instantly that the frequencies of the condenser mic are much flatter than the iPhone. So the condenser microphone is likely to be more transparent, so won't colour our vocal track as much as the iPhone. There are 5 significant places that I can see major differences in the graphs. The first 2 won't be too important to the vocal track, as the vocals aren't in this frequency range particularly. But you can see that the iPhone is lacking in the 40 to 70 Hz and is heightened in the 120 to 200 Hz. The vocals then lack in the 300 to 500 Hz range, which is why on a phone vocals can sound weak and tinny because the body of the vocal normally lies within this range. There's an increase in frequencies in the 1 to 2 kHz range, which is normally where nasal qualities of vocals lie. There's also an increase in the 14 to 16 kHz range. I don't know if that's just noise from the phone, however, it is possible that sibilants can lie within this range, so it's probably also worth addressing. So now that I know a little bit about the frequency response of the iPhone compared to the NT1, I know where my vocal track is likely to have been altered in tone through the phone microphone. And now this may not be a full solution, just changing these slight areas of EQ may not completely make my vocal sound amazing. However, it is a starting point for me. Here I've applied my low cut that I put on every vocal track I get. This just gets rid of the really low information that we don't need, that doesn't lie within our vocal range. I've boosted between 300 to 500 Hz, cut between 1 to 2 kHz, and cut a tiny bit around 16 kHz. So basically, I've compensated for the iPhone's frequency response by referencing the condenser microphone's frequency response. Let's hear how this has changed the vocal.
You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground. You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground.
Okay, so the vocal still doesn't sound perfect just yet, but this has helped a huge amount. When thinking about recording vocals with an iPhone or with any phone, I thought about how even though you might be trying to hold the phone really super still, there'll still be little bits of movement. Now, these tiny bits of movement probably aren't enough to alter the tone of the vocals too much, but it will alter the level of the vocal. So to fix this, I would apply a bit of compression to the track. So here's the compression I've used on the iPhone recording.
You let me down, I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground. You let me down, I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground.
It's made the vocal sound a lot more consistent and stronger, which will sound better in the majority of mixes. Now, I experimented a bit with movement when recording with an iPhone. Here's the dry recording so you can hear the effect it had.
You let me down, I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground.
To me, the movement up and down didn't affect the tone of the vocal as much as moving side to side did, although you could definitely hear the movement in both parts of the recording. I really thought long and hard about how I'd go about fixing this, and I'm sorry to say that I didn't come up with a really quick, easy solution. I mean, you could use bits of dynamic EQ to try and fix the problems when the movement's introduced, and a bit of volume automation to fix the change in levels. However, in all honesty, it's probably best to try and avoid this problem from the very beginning. And if you do get a vocal sent to you with a lot of movement, again, it's probably best to message the singer and ask them to record it again with less movement. By altering the noise, the EQ and the movement effect of the iPhone vocals, we've already made a huge difference. However, to me, it still doesn't quite sound as shiny and sparkly as the Rode NT1 recording. And so there are a few little tricks that I like to use to try and help improve this. I like to play around with the model of compressor that I use on the vocal track. And this is because the emulations of each compressor has a slightly different algorithm, and so it colours our vocal track in slightly different ways. So in this circumstance, I'd put on a slightly brighter sounding compressor. In this circumstance, I'd put on quite a bright compressor to lift the vocals up. Here's the before and after.
You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground. You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground.
You can hear how this has made a subtle and natural sounding change to our iPhone vocal track. When I was thinking about this video, I was experimenting more and more with trying to mix these types of vocals. And I had to keep asking myself why the vocals still sounded so dull. And the conclusion that I came up with is that I needed to brighten the tone of the vocals. So I decided to do this by altering the vocals' formants. I used the vocal transformer to do this. I've only altered the formants ever so slightly and made sure that it's not mixed too high up in the mix, just because this will make the vocals sound so unnatural. Here's the before and after.
You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground. You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground.
It has made the vocals sound so much brighter and lighter than they did before. I personally hadn't used this before, but I think it's quite a cool little technique that works pretty well. The last thing I did to make this vocal track a bit more sparkly is one of my favourite tricks to use on vocals. It's using the Tube EQ plugin. Now this plugin is brilliant. It gives your vocals high end without making it sound shrill or harsh due to the analog circuit emulation. The reason I love this plugin is that it makes the track have more high end, but it doesn't do it harshly due to the analog console emulation. Here's the vocal with and without the Tube EQ.
You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground. You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground.
And as always, it's increased the high end but hasn't made the vocal sound shrill or harsh.
You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground. You let me down. I'm spinning all around, end up on the ground.
Okay, so I personally like the sound of the condenser recording the best, but I think that the edited iPhone vocal was actually really passable and would work perfectly fine too. There are always going to be elements of recording a vocal through a phone that we can't avoid, like the phone's frequency response. We can't escape it, we just have to be able to fix it. But there is some advice that you can give singers or clients when they're wanting to record through a phone. For example, try and hold the phone as still as possible. As we heard, movement can really drastically change the tone of the vocal and make it sound inconsistent. I also experimented with holding my phone in my hand and placing it on a surface. And actually, although holding it in my hand did introduce some extra movement, it sounded a lot better than keeping the phone on the surface. When the phone was on a surface, it sounded really bassy and boomy, which created extra problems for me in the mixing stage. I also experimented with distance away that I held the phone, and I found that around about 1 meter worked the best. So try and hold the phone still, don't put it on a surface, and keep it about 1 meter away. That's my advice and how I would try and make a vocal recorded through a phone sound like a vocal recorded through a recording microphone. Now, as always, every vocal is different, and so all the settings that I've used in this video may not work exactly on other vocals. You have to experiment and see what works for different vocals. However, the principles should be around about the same. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful and interesting. Let me know what you thought in the comments below and if there are any other videos you'd like to see in the future. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell, and I will see you again soon.